Hey guys, it's Hunter here, and I'm here with another video, top 20 underrated players, and I have my friend on the phone named Gavin. Hey Gavin, say hi.
What's up, YouTube?
All right, that's Gavin. He's in Texas right now. I don't live there, but anyway, let's kick the list off. Number 20, Lance Moore. The dude had 1,041 yards, 6 touchdowns. He was a tremendous slot for Drew Brees and the Saints. Even though they had a losing record, he still played individually well as Drew Brees. And let's move on to number 19, Reggie Wayne, 106 catches, 1,355 yards. And I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but last year when he played the Green Bay Packers, the dude just went off. Like, they could not cover him. He played extremely well. Him and Andrew Luck would not be denied that win for Chuck Pagano. Anyway, that being said, let's move on to number 18, Darren Sproles. I'm not going to really focus on his rushing focus as much as his receiving aspect. The dude had 75 catches, 667 yards, and 7 touchdowns. If you guys didn't know, that's more touchdowns than Calvin Johnson. Darren had 7, Calvin had 5. That's pretty damn good. Anyway, number 17, Mike Williams. Arguably one of the best pure number 2 receivers in the NFL. He's not the most talented, but as a pure number 2, he's up there. He finished the season with 996 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's pretty good, especially for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Having a huge problem there with their quarterback and just a whole lot of mess. Regardless, number 16, Cameron Wake. 15 sacks, 53 tackles, and 3 forced fumbles. That is just tremendous, considering that he's very well known. That's why he had a really good season, but people know him, so that's why he's so low. Anyway, if it was just based on talent, he'd be amongst these guys. He'd be top 5. Anyway, number 15, Zach Brown. Yeah, the outside linebacker for Tennessee Titans. That's Zach Brown. He had 93 tackles on the year, 5.5 sacks, 3 picks, 2 touchdowns, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. That's very good statistics for someone that nobody knows about. I mean, have you guys ever heard about Zach Brown or any other defender of the Titans playing like that? Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, now number 14, Alex Smith. I think this dude is completely underrated. His entire career, he's been under so much pressure. Like, you have to play well now, you have to play well now. But he's been put in a bad environment. I mean, the past 2 years, he has been part of a crappy team. I mean, he was competing with Tavares Jackson for a starting role. And it's just not fair. I mean, he's had, I don't know how many offensive coordinators, but every year they just hired a new guy. And they're like, hey, Alex Smith played good. Anyway, prior to him being replaced by Colin Kaepernick midway through the season, he had the 3rd highest quarterback rating in the NFL. Which is it's very good for a quarterback that got replaced and is now put on a different team. Anyway, number 13, Danny Amendola. His statistics aren't very good. He had 63 catches, 666 yards, my apologies, and only 3 touchdowns. But if you watch this guy, like you watch game film of him, he is very good. I mean, by no means is the Rams' offense tremendous or really good. And that being said, they're not going to put up amazing stats. I mean, their quarterback is mediocre. Well, not mediocre. I think he's good. I think he's really good, but I think he was put in a situation where he only could play best at mediocre. And Steven Jackson, he was out the entire year. I like Daryl Richardson, though. I liked him. Anyway, moving on. Number 12, Harrison Smith, the rookie safety from Minnesota. Probably the worst secondary in the NFL. They had one of the best performances by a safety and by a rookie in the NFL. The guy had 104 tackles, 1 sack, 3 picks, 2 touchdowns, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. The biggest statistic that points out to me, he had 104 tackles at safety, and a rookie no less. That is tremendous. He has great range. He was a ball hawk in some sense, and you can tell he made tackles. I mean, 104 tackles as a safety, that says enough as is. Anyway, number 11, Frank Gore. This is more of his aspect as, not really statistic approach, but just how you can respect the guy and how people don't really see him. I mean, you think, oh, Vernon Davis, Colin Kaepernick, and you think these guys, when you've had the steady workhorse of Frank Gore, this very, very tough runner. I mean, his entire career, even when they were losing in San Fran, they were the bottom of their division or fighting for the bottom of their division. He just played football. Like, he didn't complain. He just played. And he finished the season amassing 1,000 yards, and he competed in the Super Bowl. And if you watched him play in the Super Bowl, he played very well. I think the 49ers are getting too pass happy. They should have just ran the ball all over the all over the Ravens defense, because they really weren't prepared for it. I mean, you can think Ravens defense all you want. They did not play like the old Ravens defense that we're accustomed to watching. Oh, well, number 10, DeQuell Jackson. DeQuell Jackson, I think, is extremely underrated. He amassed 100 tackles. He's a part of I think, is one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL. The dude puts up extremely good numbers. It's stunning that many people don't know him. I mean, he's had problems his last couple years, but last season he played the entire year. He played very, very well. You watch the Browns play, all you hear is DeQuell Jackson on tackle, DeQuell Jackson on the play. You just hear his name all over the board. Oh, well, number 9, Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not saying this that, like, he's... I don't really know what to say in terms of what I'm trying to think and say, but the dude is Larry Fitzgerald, and people don't really understand. I mean, I've seen lists where people put Percy Harvin, which I think is ridiculous. Percy Harvin, Julio Jones, Roddy White, Wes Welker, and Andre Johnson over this guy, which I think is ridiculous. I mean, if you give Larry Fitzgerald Matt Ryan, you give him a Matthew Stafford, or even something simple as a Sam Bradford, some guy who can at least give the ball to him in some sense, the dude's going to easily amass 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns plus easily, and 90 catches, 90 receptions. Like, just easily. I mean, you watch him play with Kurt Warner, the dude could not be stopped. All right, and let's move on to number 8, Marques Colston. I haven't retired on Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not saying he's better. I'm just saying he's extremely underrated as well. And he had 83 catches, 1,154 yards, and 10 touchdowns on 132 targets, which I think is incredible. I think him and Lance Moore are both very underrated players. I mean, you can clearly see by the numbers, both of them amassed 1,000 yards, but let's talk about Marques Colston, the big body receiver, not fast, good route runner, and he has very, very solid, strong hands. And him getting 10 touchdowns and 1,154 yards says a lot. That they have so many weapons with Darren Sproles, Drew Brees, the running back carousel they have, Jimmy Graham, a great line, Lance Moore, Devin Henderson. They have so many weapons, and this guy managed to get 1,000 yards, which is incredible. Moving on, number 7, Brandon Marshall. I think him and Larry Fitzgerald are fighting for the second best receiver in the NFL. I think Larry Fitzgerald hasn't beat, but Brandon Marshall, the dude's ridiculous. He had a career high. He was targeted 194 times, which is approximately 12 targets a game. He had 118 catches, 1,508 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And if you think about it, I mean, all you have to do is cover this guy. I mean, you have him, you have Earl Bennett, Johnny Knox, and Devin Hester, which those guys aren't really going to do anything. I mean, Earl Bennett's okay, but all you have to do is cover him, Brandon Marshall. They couldn't do it. I mean, the dude was given the ball almost 120 times, 1,508 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And no team could seem to stop him. Regardless, let's move on to number 6, Brandon Myers. First number that jumps out at me, 7 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns. As a tight end for the Oakland Raiders. That is amazing to me. I mean, Carson Palmer was erratic, and they had some problems, and this, that, whatever. But he had 7 touchdowns, 79 catches, and 806 yards, which is tremendous play by a tight end, by any means, but especially one for Oakland. And let's move on to number 5, Tony Romo. Tony Romo. The dude, 4,903 yards, 28 touchdowns, and his quarterback rating was a 90.5. I think people would jump all over his back like, you make mistakes, you do this wrong, you do that. When you think about it, okay, last season they had the worst rushing attack in Cowboys franchise history. Miles Austin missed a lot of the season, or was out on the bench during the games a lot because he was hurting his hamstring. Jason Witten, loved the guy. He was great. I'm not going to knock him off. Des Bryant didn't play very well until midway through the season. And their line was crap. Their line is horrible. I think Jerry Jones needs to replenish, or at least just get somebody who can protect a turnover for at least 2 or 3 seconds. I mean, is that so hard? Anyway, I think Tony Romo, he's extremely accurate. He has a nice arm. He's very mobile in the pocket. He has a great pocket awareness, and I think people need to learn to just get off his back. I mean, give him some credit. All right, number 4, I'm giving this one to the entire Rams organization. They have Chris Long playing well, Robert Quinn, Jarvis Jenkins. Janoris Jenkins. I'm sorry, Janoris Jenkins is a rookie. Cortland Finnegan, Quentin McKell, who's a safety who amassed 100 tackles. Sam Bradford, I think, is an underrated quarterback. I say that now, but I knocked him off earlier. I'm just saying he was put in a situation where it was just a crappy situation. He just played crap when he's actually a good quarterback. Anyway, I like Daryl Richardson as well. I like the receiver they drafted. I can't remember his name. Oh, I'm sorry, they drafted 2. There's Stedman Bailey and Tavon Austin, which I think those 2 are going to play very well. Regardless, let's move on to number 3, the Bears corners. Hands down, I think they're better than Richard Sherman and Brandon Brown. I would take these 2 guys over both those 2 any day. Bears corners, the 2 best cornerback tandem in the NFL, hands down. Their statistics, they had Tim Jennings, 9 picks, led the NFL with 9 picks. Charles Tillman, 86 tackles at a corner position, 3 picks, 3 touchdowns, and he also led the NFL in forced fumbles. 10 forced fumbles as a corner. So they led the NFL. They had one cornerback lead the NFL in picks. The other one led the NFL in forced fumbles. See how I would pick them over the Seahawks? Anyway, let's move on to number 2, London Fletcher. This dude has been knocked off his entire career. I mean, I hear Ray Lewis ever since 2004, 2005. I've been a sports fan for a long time, and I will say I've not heard about this guy nowhere near as much as I should have. The dude had 13 seasons of at least 116 tackles, 139 tackles this season with 3 sacks and 5 interceptions. I think he was 37, 38 years old with 5 picks, 139 tackles, and 3 sacks. That is tremendous, especially considering that the defense played so well and he managed to just stand out. He was a man amongst boys in terms of the Redskins defense. Anyway, let's move on to the number 1, the most underrated player in the NFL, which I actually considered about making a video mainly about him just because he's so underrated and he's so good. The number 1 underrated player in the NFL, Daryl Washington. The dude, all he does is everything. He just does everything. I mean, the dude, 134 tackles, 9 sacks as a middle linebacker in a 4-3, 1 pick, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. The dude is blazing fast. You watch film of him, he chases down Michael Vick. He can get after the quarterback, obviously, with 9 sacks, especially as a middle linebacker position. I mean, he has the athleticism and the ability to play as defensive end, the 4-3, and he has the awareness and the field awareness of a middle linebacker and the pass coverage of a third down linebacker. I really don't know a great example, but a guy primarily just put out there to just cover the pass. The dude can do everything. He can do everything, and he's a key component to the Cardinals' defense, which I think is another underrated defense. But anyway, that's besides the point. Daryl Washington, the most underrated player in the NFL.